in this world as we speak today, ladies and gentlemen. But this motion has also presenting the problem into this chamber. What is the problem, ladies and gentlemen? The problem is the anti-vax movement itself. The anti-vax movement is a problem. It's not just a social movement. It's basically one of the bad movement in the world. But before we continue, let me explain a little bit what is the anti-vax movement here, ladies and gentlemen. The anti-vax movement, as we know, is a movement, a social movement that dated back not just few years later, but actually it's dated back on 18th and 19th century when there's a vaccination that has been made, has been progressed by the humanity. That humanity, especially some of the rich and wealthy countries, back in the time, start to making vaccines that to fight against certain disease, ladies and gentlemen, like Ebola. I've heard like Spanish flu vaccines, and then there's H1N1, H1N1, swine flu vaccine, and there's a bird flu vaccine, etc., etc. But this certain kind of people, this certain kind of movement, this certain kind of group led and believes that these vaccines could help the humanity, ladies and gentlemen. And they believe that as an anti-vax movement, they could save themselves, their kids, and the generation after that, because the vaccination could bring harm. What harm they talking about, ladies and gentlemen? The harm may vary. Some say cancers, some say autism, and some say like cerebral palsy, etc., etc., ladies and gentlemen. Or maybe another in most general and basic terms is that the virus or the bacteria will start living again, ladies and gentlemen. But hear us out. We from the opening government has believed these problems need to be find the solution as soon as possible, and from this motion we should ban their movement, their social movement, by marking them as an illegal movement, not just by the illegal movement, but this movement should be marked as a movement that causing a general disruption, ladies and gentlemen. They should be fined and maybe tried in the court that they are causing general disruption, as just same as those doing with the drunk driving, ladies and gentlemen. As you may heard in many other cases, the drunk driving and public drunkenness and public alcoholism has caused many bad stuff to the society, bad stuff to the peoples outside that could disrupting the general and disrupting the public, ladies and gentlemen. The disruption on the public has caused so many hysterias, and this anti-vax movement are not just aren't different than the hysteria that has been caused by another type of movement that try to spreading the mass hysteria, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's come to a little bit of the argument that will be explained much by my second speaker. First of all, the general disruption itself, ladies and gentlemen. Why is this a general disruption? First of all, this anti-vax movement trying to do what they're doing. What are they doing, ladies and gentlemen? They are going to the town hall. They are going to the plaza. They're going to the people where many people are berkumpul, or many people are gathering, ladies and gentlemen. And this gathering are the most target for the anti-vax movement to menyuarakan, to saying their opinion about why vaccine is harming to people and why vaccine is harming to human, as they say in their opinions, ladies and gentlemen. But this type of movement mostly only are shouting to the others, demonstrating, try to raising the banners, try to raising their flags, try to raising some of the stuff that you usually see at the protesting. They're saying vaccine is bad, vaccine could cause autism, etc., etc., ladies and gentlemen. But in this case, as we could see here, this problem does exist in many countries, especially in United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this problem does exist again and we as the government try to stop it from the general because the general disruption has been done by them with their shoutings, with their they're disrupting the people's gathering, ladies and gentlemen. And the disruption of the people's gathering itself should not be treated as likely because this will cause harm to the society, which would be more explained more by my second speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, from the opening government, from the bench of the opening government, we could see here that the anti-vax movement did a lot and did a lot of bad things to the society. They're hindrance, ladies and gentlemen. They are hindering the vaccination effort of the government itself, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore they should be banned because of the general disruption and the hindrance they have made to the society, to the government, to vaccinate the people. Their hindrance mostly are massive enough. They could rally several people, not just 10, not just 20s, but all hundreds, even thousands of people that could be rallied to their cause just to stop a mere vaccination of a small city, a small town, or maybe another country because they think that vaccination is bad. And alas, this motion should stand due to the fact that we have been brought and will be explained later by my second speaker. I think that's all from the opening government. I think that's all from the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister spent 7 minutes lebih dikit. I can't catch the time coming from the split time. To open the case from the opposition bench, let's call the leader of the opposition. Here.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Test.
Yep, you're audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we as the opening opposition believe that there are certain missing points that stated from the opening government in the first place. First of all, they stated always talking about this movement is bad, this movement is illegal, and so on and so forth. But we never heard that the standard or the parameter of their legality in the first place, right? Because they never explained to us on why this kind of organization is harming toward the country, harming toward the society, and so on and so forth. And also talking about the harm, they are always talking about this kind of anti-vax movement itself doing the campaign and influence others and so on and so forth. But we say that the campaigning itself is still justified in our country, right? Because the right to influence others and the right to spread the information, education toward the others society is still justified and protected under the law of our country, right? So it is the right to express our opinion. It is the right to spread the information and so on and so forth. As long as our information and our campaigns is not intervene the action of our audience, it is still justified, right? So we don't see any harm or any problem that come from the government side of the house. Why this kind of movement is spreading the information that harm the society itself? Because we say that this kind of campaign is still justified as long as it is not intervene the action of our people, right? So we say it is still justified. So coming to the opening opposition argument, in here we are going to talk about why this kind of anti-vax movement is still justified in our country, why we should not ban this kind of movement, because our statistic on status quo that anti-vax movement in our country is still exists in the first place. So my argument is going to talk about the justification why this kind of movement is still it should not be banned, and the anti-vax movement itself as the movement in the first place. So come to my first argument, anti-vax as a movement. We see that this kind of movement as a platform to spread the information related to their rights and in their interest and their area in the first place, right? And also this movement is this movement function is to spread the education and information in the first place. And anti-vax movement itself is quite known about the science in the first place, right? For example, there are the public health expert. There are doctors, professors, and so on. No, thank you. And also, this kind of organization is a bunch of people that quite known about the science in the first place, right? Why? Because that is the reason they created this kind of movement, because it is their basics and their interest in the first place, right? So we believe that they oppose this kind of vaccine, for example, the COVID-19 vaccine in the first place, because they have also their own argumentation, and they have also their own opinion and research toward their action, right? Because we believe there are mistakes from the government regulation. For example, there are weaknesses of the vaccine in the first place, missing point of the government government regulation, and so on and so forth. Why this kind of movement is really important toward our country? Because first, because this movement is a movement that gives the information to the society about the vaccine itself, right? This movement function is to educate our society about the harm of this vaccine, the side effects of this vaccine, and so on and so forth, right? So this movement is going to inform our society about what the things are, what the things that are going to come to their body, inside their body, and so on and so forth, right? So this is really important because because not all the society in our country well known about well educated about the vaccine itself, well educated about the COVID-19, and so on and so forth. Maybe there are several people that are going to affected by this kind of vaccine. For example, they are affected allergy and so on and so forth, right? So we believe that by this kind of movement, the society are going to well known about the side effects of the vaccine itself, well educated about the government toward the vaccine that are going to be vaccinated by the government in our country, right? And also the second of all,
Before that, sir.
no, thank you. And also this is a kind of opposition toward the government data, for example, because we believe that because government research, government data is not always perfect. It is not always accurate and not always true, right? Because the anti-vax movement as a function is to detect this kind of missing point of the government data and scientific itself, right? So we believe that this kind of movement are able to give the feedback toward the government missing point in the first place, right? This is really important because it is going to create the betterment of the research of the government scientists in the first place, right? It is going to be beneficial toward the research orientation, right? Because we believe that the research and science never be completed and never be perfect. So that's why we believe by the existence of this organization is going to give the improvement toward the science in the first place, right? And also come to the other argument why we should stand to this why we should not stand to this motion, because it is the right to create always the right of the society to create a movement, to choose their own movement, and to deliver their value in the platform of the movement in the first place, right? We contextualize to you that we are living in democracy country. We live in democratic country. Those rights are protected under the law of our country, right? So why should we ban this kind of movement? Regarding this kind of movement giving the social impact toward our society, toward our country, right? Why we should ban this kind of movement? And also we question to the government side of the house why the government have the right to intervene this kind of movement and should ban this kind of movement action in the first place. And also we are taking on the worst case of scenario when the government are believing they are going to ban this kind of movement. We believe this kind of movement is still going to be exist. For example, under the even it is illegal work, because the society characteristic is they are always deliver their value, influence the other people about their data right. So we believe the government are not going to be achieve their goal by banning this kind of movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of the Opposition. To extend the case, coming from the opening government bench, I call the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to start my argument. I would like to start main speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, and the best edit together. We are from the government opening government team, especially as the deputy of government teams. We would like to deliver some of the point or arguments that we stand for these motions that we should ban the anti-factions movement. Especially first, I would like to rebuttal some of the points that delicate and deliver from the opposition teams. The first things is about the is it why is they ask about why is it illegal? There is no fact or there is no regulations about why is it illegal. Okay, we cannot say is it illegal in briefly, but we could say this is the movement that we spread the information, that we spread about the perspective without any validity and without any facts. That we see as this as the as the as the like being not validity is the things we think it's illegal, and it's being a hoax informations, and I would like to deliver it in my arguments. And the second point is about the anti-factions movement would like to spread the education and informations. Okay, we still consider the rights of the speech or the rights of argument, give the arguments, but the arguments that there is no validity, there is no fact, there is no research, there is no data. It could be a mean of some things that information that doesn't implement doesn't have validity well. And it's being some of the effect that I would like to give. The effect is such as there is ever a the spreadness of anti-factions movement, such as in Padang itself and Aceh, and the factions rate from the 90% it's decreased to the 40 or 30%, and it's make the in 2000 in the data it's from the 2012, and in the 2008 and 13 the number of the different the number of the number of the the number of the I mean like the about the virus or the diphtheria about the diphtheria virus is increasing in 2013. So we could see that it could be it could be treat the safety of national health, and we see that one. And the third point that we want to rebuttal is about the improvement of the society, the improvement of society perspective. So the government itself, the government of some of the national, the government itself is we have the validity from the researcher, from the scientists, from the scholars, from the doctor. The argument it's valid, and we believe that it could be spread the information to the society with the right side, because from the anti-factions group arguments, they doesn't have a data, and it's something, it's kind of like if you give some things but you doesn't have a fact, you could believe it or no. So this is the point. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to answer to our government arguments. First, about the once again, we want to deliver about there is no validity data from the scientist or researcher from the or doctor from the opposition side or from the anti-factions movement, because they doesn't have that validity, so it could be harmless. It could be a harm for the society, because if that perspective is spread to the society and influence to the society, and society believe to that, and they don't get the affection anymore, so it could be infected to their healthness valid the valid data, and it's make the harmless to the society. About oh yeah, I want to give the validity itself. It's about the validity of the data of the researcher of the research about the weakness or the strengthness or like the benefit from the factions, and the opposition side doesn't have the data about why these factions should ban and why these factions doesn't have a benefit for the human or the society. And the second point is about the being a threat for the safety of national health. We already deliver about if the sums of the society believe in that perspective of anti-factions movement, so the society doesn't get didn't get that factions anymore. So the number of the virus, the number of outbreak could be increasing in that area, because they doesn't get that factions anymore, and the diphthery such as and any outbreaks could be become in that area. And the third point is about especially in COVID-19 era, the anti-factions movements sometimes go to the public place and doing demonstrations, protests, and such more. So it could be a dangerous things, because it could be the spreadness of the virus, especially the COVID-19, and it could be impacting to the society and for their health too. And the fourth point is about the the daily life of society. It could be impacted to the daily life society, national level, and the economic threat. Because why we select that? If the sums of the society, it's the first, they always get the factions, and their child get healthy, and etc. and etc. But when the perspective about doesn't must have to get affections, so the society doesn't get that factions again, and then the illness spread in that area. And if that happen, the government must focus in the healthy side, and it could be dangerous for the economic sides, because it's like impacted to the stability of the economy, because they must to protect the healthy side first. That we seen from the government sides. Once again, we said that we really believe with this motion, because the motion is absolutely right, and we stand with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. To extend the case from the opening opposition bench, I call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Here.
All right. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
clearly. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here as the second speaker from our opposite team. So I'm going to give some rebuttal to our government team. So first of all, I think our government forget about what is the essence of social movement. So they keep confused about it will be disrupting. They afraid it will create the unproductivity of the country. And also I think so I will try to clarify to you what exactly the social movement essence in here. So ladies and gentlemen, why the social movement exists? Because we want to try to change something, because there is something that unsatisfied here. So that's why the status quo isn't enough, because we should notice that not all people have the same body, not all people have the same body, and not all people have the same reaction to the vaccine. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think our government forget to highlight this point. So there's a lot of case that someone get allergic to this kind of vaccine, or even get get allergic from the Sinovac vaccine, which is the COVID-19 vaccine. So because, ladies and gentlemen, you should notice this allergic also have different types, and even this there is a
Your
type
high,
that can
please.
lead these people to make them dying, or even make them die at the very first time, ladies and gentlemen. So because of this, there is the type of this allergic, ladies and gentlemen. This movement is trying to showcase to the public that there is something wrong. This the side effect of this vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. So there is the narrative that needs to showcase to the public, ladies and gentlemen, because there is something that we need to change, heard and heard by the government. And also I think it's our, and I think every layer of society needs to know about this information, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, when we have social movement, and for example, if they want to go to the public, to go to the road, ladies and gentlemen, it's not always just they go to the road, ladies and gentlemen. There is also the procedure at the very first, ladies and gentlemen, because if they want to do the campaign on the road, ladies and gentlemen, they need to go to the police and having like some signature and stuff in there, ladies and gentlemen. So it will make their campaign legal. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we also living on this pandemic era, and we know that this campaign also not always should physical. There are also the digital campaign here, ladies and gentlemen, which is I don't think it will harming the society, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, and they're also afraid on how the movement validation, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, they highlight about the validation, and you also need to notice that not all people you should notice that the people from this social movement also from different background, ladies and gentlemen. There is a researchers that not agree with the government. There's also the basic people, and I think it's from the different background. So I think based on their point, based on their their own research, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why this social movement coming out to the public, and they have their own stance at the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, if the government afraid about that, it will make it will create it will make the lack of productivity of this country, ladies and gentlemen. So we know that the protocol health is still valid to be the answer, ladies and gentlemen. It will provide our society to be productive, ladies and gentlemen, even if not that productive, but at least they still work, ladies and gentlemen, because we still live in this kind of protocol health, and at least it's still working, ladies and gentlemen, as long as you follow as long as everyone follow the protocol health, ladies and gentlemen. So I think it will be the answer for the society who doesn't want to get vaccinated, ladies and gentlemen, because back again to the idea of the body autonomy, ladies and gentlemen, we have the right to choose something that we want to put inside our body, ladies and gentlemen.
Your eye,
because
please.
back again, ladies and gentlemen. So here's so I'm trying to break down what the opposite team going to explain to you. We're going to explain about why this movement will bring betterment to the government, and also why it's justified to us to have social movement, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we see on how that it's justified because we see on how that to making a social movement is something legal. So it's something legal. So why the government need the government have the right to ban them, ladies and gentlemen. As long as they are not out of the policy, I think it's okay to have this movement, ladies and gentlemen. Here is why, ladies and gentlemen, here is why the opposite part, as the social movement, as they're opposite to the government, is okay, because first, ladies and gentlemen, it is like we give more perspective to the society, that we give more perspective, so it will make the society more educated about this vaccine, so they will know better, ladies and gentlemen. For the government, it also give more perspective to them, so they will do better research at the end of the day, because we showcase to them that there is something wrong in here and there is in here, so they will give better procedure, better research, so at the end of the day it will fix it will make the vaccine getting better, ladies and gentlemen. And to this kind of people in the social movement, ladies and gentlemen, they simply just want to be heard by the government, and they want this government execute and fix the problem. So even if there is something, a few people who still doesn't want to get vaccinated, even if they already get hurt by the government, it's okay, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, it's their right. But if there is, I think it's back again to they are on privilege, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, and also, ladies and gentlemen, we see on how as the social movement, we want to give this information to the society, the side effect, and also we want to give feedback to government. So we simply want to talk to the public that this vaccine not always effective, and also, ladies and gentlemen, so that's why we also want to showcase to the government that the society also have this there is a stigma also about this vaccine to the from the society. So we want to highlight to this stigma to the government. We want the government to execute this stigma. So, ladies and gentlemen, we simply want to bring out this idea to government, so it will bring, so at the end of the day, it will bring betterment to government, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we see on because we notice that not all body is the same, ladies and gentlemen, because of this reason, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to be anti-vax movement here. I mean, anti-vax movement here, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, I think as the government, they need to answer why after we bring up this idea to the government, why we need to get banned, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, we give you another solution, we give you another information. So I think it's part of our right as the society, ladies and so because of this reason, I brought to oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, to offer a new, fresh perspective from the closing bench, called the government member. Here.
Check. Am I audible?
Clearly, yeah.
Wait, let me arrange my paper first. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Chamber, panels, and all children that lost their life because of these stupid anti-vax parents. First of all, as the closing government, we would like to mention 3 things that failed brought by the opening government. The first is they failed to bring the mechanism on how they would like to ban this anti-vax movement. Second and third, they are failed to bring the justification and necessity of these motions. They did mention, but we will here explain more and further about these 3 things. But before that, let me explain to you how actually this anti-vax movement is emerged and exists in this world. First of all, because since the very beginning of vaccination system is invented, there are a lot of death cases that happen, because we believe that in that period the medical world is not yet developed. It's not yet really developed as what we see in the modern world, because we believe that there are a lot of unsterile tools that used in the past process of vaccination. So that's why in the past there are a lot of people that dying or even getting a weird disease from getting vaccinated. And we believe that this kind of past or this kind of history is the basis of the current of the nowadays anti-vaxxer use in order to do their campaign. They said that how vaccine can cause autism, or how vaccine can even create such a new disease is because of based on something that happened in the past, in which the vaccination in the past is not done in a good method. But we now have a better medical world. We have better technology, so we can conduct things with a very minimum level of flaw as what happens to the past. And then in the current situations, this anti-vax is actually, yes, we believe that some anti-vax are actually having their own research, but the thing is, most in the comparison, the data or the basis of their argument is have more false information rather than the scientific research information. How so? Because their only their main data that actually scientifically right is that not everyone have such a good have a same tolerance against the vaccine. Some might get allergic, but the rest is totally bullshit. Why? Because these anti-vax claim that how vaccine can cause autism, and even government can plant such a tracker on you when they are vaccinated you. This kind of argument that we see that in most that happen in most of the anti-vax movement, because we believe that the comparison of logical and rational anti-vax is less than the stupid and unreasonable argument
given by them. And we believe that even if the information is actually right, we still think that it is still harmful for our society, especially in the status quo. Why? Because we believe that it is really urgent in the status quo. In order to fight the pandemic of COVID-19, we need to end the chain of the infection through the process of vaccination. So we believe that the existence of this anti-vax movement will harm or will make the process of ending this chain of infection of COVID-19 will take more time, and more time of COVID-19 means more harm to the world. It will be harm the economy and so on and so forth. And then how we would like to ban this anti-vax movement. First of all, we would like to abolish any kind of act that of this anti-vax movement that spreading informations in order to persuade people to not get vaccination, because we believe that these kind of actions, we classify this as an anti-vax movement, and for those who still conduct this act, we will arrest them, and we believe that arresting them is the only way, because by stopping these informations, or this by arresting those people, will stop the act of spreading misleading information itself, because people will eventually think that campaigning their agenda in terms of anti-vax will not work anyway. So that's why we believe that this is the only way to stop the chain of this misleading information. And then before coming to my argument, several debaters toward the opening opposition side of the house. First, they ask why it is harmful to be an anti-vax, and then I would like to explain this later. And then their main argument is that how vaccine actually can harm someone's body, because it can cause allergic. Here, what I would like to say is that before during the process of development of the vaccine, there is several trials has been done. There is several kind of experiment have been done that the vaccine is set to as safe as possible. And in during that process, also the one that getting vaccinated is not just randomly coming to the hospital and get injected by the vaccine. No, there is kind of medical check up to those people who want to get the vaccination. So if they have such a risk to get an allergic from the vaccine, those kind of people will get different types of vaccinations of vaccine itself. And then we come to my one. First of all, we would like to explain why it's actually justified for us to ban this anti-vax movement. As to how I explained before, that how these people are actually creating more harm, even if they might be some good points, like they're giving information. But we believe that in the status quo right now, those kind of good is not as much, they cause more harm or more chaos rather than the good that actually really small coming from this movement. We believe that in case of when under the perspective of utilitarianism, we believe that letting this movement will bring more harm rather than good. Therefore, we believe that it is justified for us. And then, what kind of harm they actually did? Here is the explanation of those in the uh, because the same reason why it is actually necessary, because we believe that in the situation of pandemic COVID-19, we believe that society don't have the ability to filterize the information. They cannot rationalize those information. Why? Because we believe that the people are actually in a state of panic because of the pandemic, because we believe that because of that they are psychologically forced to accept any information they get. In the sector of economy, people are panically buying things and stuff in convenience store. In the state of health and medical, people will simply believing any information related to COVID because of their panic. And we believe that this kind of panic is making them or unable to use their rationality to considering things, which information is true and which information is false. And we believe this kind of things is making the situation of pandemic is even worsening under the case of opposition side. Therefore, we would like to stop the chain of this false information and the chain of the spread of the panic among the citizen and society. So therefore, because of those two things, first, because it is they are creating more harm than good, and we believe it is justified. Second, because it is necessary, because it creates such a panic in the society. Therefore, the CG believe that this movement should be banned. Thank you.
Thank you, government member. To offer a fresh take on this issue from the opposition bench, I call upon the opposition member. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. If there is any POI, you can just type POI instead of unmute your microphone. So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1, 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you know an important or useful information, you tend to spread the information, right? So that's why anti-vax movement believe that their belief, what they believe, this is important, and they have to spread that. Well, when we're talking about movement, social movement, it exists because there is opinion, the public opinion that exists in the society, and because when it comes to public opinion, it means that there are so many people who agree with this information about that about anti-vaccine itself, and because of that, there's movement to promote this anti-vax movement itself. The purpose of the existence of this movement also to influence to influence the society mindset. When we are seeing the current situation right now, the government said that the anti-vax movement right now exists by doing demonstrate and etc. Well, actually, we believe that this kind of movement doesn't exist, doesn't be done in that way. When we are talking about influence someone's or society mindset, it means that they are just going to giving a propaganda, and they just giving to several mindset and etc. They don't have to be harsh. They don't have to act too much. They don't have to act like in the barbarian way. No, if we see the current situation, it mostly happens. This anti-vax movement mostly happen in the social media. They're spreading what they believe and justified as what they are believing. It's true, and the information is right. As we already know that there is also a research that to justify the anti-vax, the anti-vaccine movement itself. So here we're not going to talk about if we're talking about uh, government farming was about that they are afraid that the society will just believe it just like that, when actually we don't have to that's not what will happen, what will going to happen. Why? Because the movement, whether even we ban it or not, it will be exist in the society, because as I said before, this comes out from the public opinion, which is already exist in the society. Even though there's no specific social movement to promote this, even we are going to move, we want to ban specific anti-vaccine movement, there will be also another existence come up about this movement, because yeah, as I said before, it comes up from the public opinion, and that's why this is exist. So actually, instead of banning, we don't instead of that, we don't the problem is not in the movement itself. We don't have to ban movement, because when we're talking about social movement, what about we can see from the current situation when we're talking about FPI, for example, it a little bit cut out of context, but this is example. If you're ban specific movement that it doesn't suit your own ideology, so yeah, there will be another existence of that FPI. There is another form of FPI. Even the government already banned them. So the problem itself is not about banning. I will explain that later. What is the best solution to serve the problem, solve this kind of problem. When we are talking about anti-vaccine movement, when we are talking about this movement, we are going to make and promote to make the what you say, to make the society believe us. But if the government worried about that the society will just follow it like that, there will be massive and extreme condition that will harm our country. Well, we probably say it will not be that way, because we believe that our society isn't that much stupid. They can think. If there is the government was saying that because of the chaotic condition, people will be psychology affected and they cannot think straight. Well, actually, when you're in the urgent situation, people tend to be more careful, even to because this is about life and death decision. So they will be more careful, and they will try to get more information. So anti-vax movement itself happened because they believe that based on their experience, they can just there is no even though there's a vaccine or there's whether they're vaccinated or not, they're just going to the body itself will be able to make their own mechanism and antibody to solve the problem if there is for certain virus such as coronavirus for current situation. So yeah, so if so we believe that when even if government want to make and even if the government is worried about the society condition because they are afraid that the society will just follow the promotes that from the anti-vax movement, they can just simply make a regulation to make every society just have and must to get vaccinated instead of banning certain movement, right? So I think the problem here is not about it's not even it doesn't have even if that's the situation, I think that's the solution. So instead of banning certain movements such as this anti-vax movement, it will be accessed anyway. So yeah, that's yes, that's what happened. And I also talking about that society isn't stupid because when there is information that appear in the media, for example in social media, because this anti-vax movement happened, they're just gonna they can think there's a in the communication side there's a theory that people can just follow what the media framing, and they can because the media is the active one and the society is the passive one, or and in another theory that the media is the passive one and the society is the active one. So uh, um, this movement is going to be accessed anyway because this is what people believe. And when they're, as I said before, when you are believing something that is important and useful, you have the right to spread the news, and you tend to want to spread the news and the information itself. So I think that's all about my speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition member, to close the case from the government bench, I call upon the government whip. Here.
Everyone, Bri, is it just me atau memang not audible?
Yeah, Ilham, you're agak putus-putus. Can you speak closer or try connection issues or?
Hello, am I audible right now?
Yes, you're perfectly audible. Go on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now let's conclude the debate. Ladies and gentlemen, since at the first, the opening government just talk about the solution, but they never talk about how could we ban this. They just talk about the solution, and they never talk about how could we ban it. And it's been talked about by my first speaker, and then we have decided that the opening government has no right to win this debate, ladies and gentlemen, because the first time they have never talked about the solution. And ladies and gentlemen, for the opening opposition, I have some rebuttal according to the first speaker and the second speaker of the opening opposition before. The first speaker of the opening opposition before states that we live in democracy country and everyone has the right to oppose that vaccine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you talk about your right, I think I have my right too. Everyone has the same right in this country, ladies and gentlemen. And if we compare the amount of people that oppose the vaccine is just a little if we compare to the people that accept the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. So according to the principle of utilitarianism, the best action is to maximization the utility, ladies and gentlemen. What the something that much have utility, then we have to do that. And then in this case, to ban this anti-vax movement is the best action and give more utility, ladies and gentlemen, because remember that our goals at the end of the day is to save a lot of people to not get infected by the virus, a particular virus, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that's why that the best action is to ban this anti-vax movement according to the utilitarianism principle, ladies and gentlemen. And for the second speaker of the opening opposition, at first she said that not all of the people have the same response to that vaccine. Some people maybe they can get allergy or something. Hello, please talk about, let's talk according to the biology, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about the scientific actually, because in fact, in scientific, the amount of people that have not normal antibody or they cannot accept the vaccine just a little, ladies and gentlemen. More people have a good antibody to accept the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. So according to the scientific, it is just a little amount of people that cannot accept the vaccines. And if we compare, ladies and gentlemen, amount of people die is much more with no vaccine rather than with vaccine. Even you talk about the antibody itself, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why I think that we should ban this anti-vaccine at the end of the day, because all of people need to get vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. And for the second speaker of the opening opposition said before that society is not that stupid. They could follow the protocol. They could use mask or something, and then we should not. Then they do not have to ban this anti-vax. But the fact that we have right now is not all the society have the same awareness as you have, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are reckless. They go out without mask or something, or they do not obey the regulation. And then because of that, they have the tendency to spread this virus to other people. And then the final purpose that we have to save people is failed. So that's why, because of the final purpose is to save people, that's why I think that we have to ban this anti-vax movement, ladies and gentlemen. And they also give the question that how could government intervene and have the right to ban this anti-vax movement? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have the basic reason why we have to ban this anti-vax movement, because you know, the dangers of anti-vax movement itself, ladies and gentlemen, they are very dangerous because they have a tendency to influence other people. For example, a person who have intention at first to get vaccine, but because of the existence of this anti-vax movement itself, they do not want to do that vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen, because they got influenced by this group, ladies and gentlemen, and then they do not follow the vaccination, and then the goal to save people is once again fail. So that's why we have to ban this anti-vax movement. And ladies and gentlemen, for the closing opposition, the first speakers say that they believe even if we ban this anti-vax movement, the news or the stigma will still exist. Yes, it's totally true. But ladies and gentlemen, with this existence of the anti-vax itself, they just make people more frightened. They just make people feel not good to have the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. So we could say that the existence of the anti-vax movement is really meresahkan, ladies and gentlemen, because they have a tendency to persuade people to not do the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that the closing opposition give the solution. They talk about the solution of natural antibody that we have in our body. But ladies and gentlemen, according to the science or scientific, that not everyone has the good antibody in their self, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are weak, not as strong as you think, and then that's why we have to vaccine them too, ladies and gentlemen, because if we don't vaccine them, they have a tendency to spread this virus to other people again and again, ladies and gentlemen. So I think the solution will not work because at the basic itself, it's not work, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we do not take this solution ever. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that this anti-vax movement have the bad, the bad impact too in their life because if you don't get a vaccine, then how could you socialize with other people that have vaccinated, ladies and gentlemen? Because you'll get exiled. People will bad think about you because you do not obey the regulation or something, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are, we can say that if you are not obeying the regulations, at the end of the day, you will die too, ladies and gentlemen, because we cannot guarantee how many times that you will survive without the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that rather than you die reckless, then you have to, you should obey the vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we agree that we have to ban this anti-vax movement. Thanks. That's all for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Whip. To close our debate this evening, I call the opposition whip. Here.
Okay. First, am I audible?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. I will start the debate at 1, 2, 3. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again and again, I, as the last speaker of the closing opposition, remind us about the motion that we all debate today is about this House to ban anti-vaccine. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I thought there is a misunderstanding of those government side of the House about the movement itself, about our motion today, ladies and gentlemen. Because of what? Because in this motion, we talk about there is no force, there is rule to no rule to make the society to obligate to didn't take any vaccine, because here we talk about the movement, about the social movement, didn't talk about the we don't need and we don't have to take any vaccine at all, ladies and gentlemen. Here, the government side of the House talk about the social movement, about this anti-vaccine movement is about a bad movement about because they claim the vaccine the vaccine itself is not heal anybody, not grow any antibody, and so on and so forth. And this vaccine, they claim about this movement is the vaccine is harmful and so on and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. And then they talk about the government side of the House, talk about the irritable movement, about the social movement, ladies and gentlemen. But in the very first place, the government side of the House didn't tell us how this movement can be irritable to the society, ladies and gentlemen. Because of what? Because about the first very question that we need to answer is in this motion is about why we need to ban this movement, ladies and gentlemen. Because how it's going to be banned when there is a regulation, and the regulation and the movement itself is about the social movement, is the free movement that didn't harm other people and didn't harm any society that have their own opinion about this social movement, about this vaccine itself, ladies and gentlemen. And then about the general disturbing by this social movement, by this anti-vaccine movement, is goes there do the promotion about in a huge place, in a huge and so on and so forth, about the gathering in very much people in there, ladies and gentlemen. But at the beginning, how this movement exists is about the society that the government side of the House tell us before. The society itself is not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. The society itself is about have their own mind, their own critical thinking about choose how good and bad for them itself, ladies and gentlemen. But this movement exists because of those society have do data and the research about the vaccine itself. Because the problem here is about the right, the human right, and then the depend on the personalities and depend on the opinion of the society and how to conduct the information that they get about this vaccine itself from the media, from the government, and so on and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. Because the society itself already have filter, already concerned what they need to do, what they need to act up is especially about this movement, ladies and gentlemen. Because the society already know about the information that work for them to know by the society itself, ladies and gentlemen. And then the next is about there is no regulation there to have to take a role on this social movement, ladies and gentlemen. But again and again, me as the closing of the opposition talk about the social movement itself is only about the promotion, ladies and gentlemen. And then we believe the society need some encourage to try to understand and educate themselves about what they will face later, ladies and gentlemen, especially about this vaccine that will harm or not for their body itself, ladies and gentlemen. And then about the society that the government side of the house already also said that there is a contradiction said about the government side of the house that they talk about the society have no concern to receive the information because this movement will harm their mind, will influence their mind about the vaccine is always harm, always bad, and so on and so forth. But one more time, I talk about how the society need the encouragement, need the push by their mind, by other people, how to understand and educate themselves, how they do research and collect the data about the information about the vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. And then I talk about the justification here about how the society do check and balance about the vaccine information, ladies and gentlemen, because the information that already give by the media, by the government itself about those vaccines is not always right, ladies and gentlemen. Because of that, the society that have a critical thinking, that have their own opinion, that they already do some research and so on and so forth, based on the fact to show in the media itself, the society already filter that, already educate themselves, already inform themselves, so they influence people how to like we call mencerna the information itself, ladies and gentlemen. And then about there is so many cases about the anti cases that we can face in our real life today, ladies and gentlemen. And then this anti-vaccine movement is one of those movement that encourage that based on the society opinion that already have a research and data itself, because we believe, ladies and gentlemen, the society itself didn't influence other people if they don't have any fact, any that we call pegangan here for the society, for their mind, for their educate themselves to influence people to do the movement. That if there is no that we call urgency here, ladies and gentlemen, because there is so many vaccine cases that already brought by the government side of the house is about failure cases to grow the antibody itself if we do in vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. We believe here about the so many cases, we need some people, some society that have any concern in that, any research, any data of that, to realize the people, to make the people think again and think properly about what good and what the bad thing for themselves. So at the very first place, the one that we need to do is not ban the vaccine itself, ban the movement itself, but we need to think about how this vaccine will go through, ladies and gentlemen. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. With that, we conclude our debate today. There will be a verbal adjudication about this exhibition tomorrow, delivered by our chief adjudicator just before the first round will start.